Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show's about to begin. Ajay, let's put on a show.
Yeah, looking forward to this, Silvia.
Let's do it. Welcome back to another episode of Golden Nuggets with me, your host, Silvia Eldawi. And today is a first. We have got the first developer on Golden Nuggets. I know it's been a long time coming. I've had lots of conversations with prop tech founders, brokerage CEOs, real estate agents, but I haven't had any developers on. So this is the inaugural developer episode. And I'm joined by none other than Ajay Rajendran, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Who is the founder and chairman of Meraki Developers, who is going to set the tone for these developer conversations, because there's a lot that we can learn. And you've got an extensive background in real estate. Your history is with Sobha, which is one of the most widely recognized and revered developers in the region. So just tell us about your background and how you came to set up Meraki Developers.
Yeah, thank you, Silvia, for this opportunity. I come from a background where my father was a businessman. He was a technocrat and started his own business from scratch. And from very early days, I remember spending, long hours with him, just listening to him and seeing how he managed people, managed situations, and probing gently and sometimes irritating him till I had an understanding of the issue on hand. So I remember that very clearly, and I think it set the plan for the future for myself as to getting into entrepreneurship and management as such. After finishing my studies, I spent a couple of years in Africa, in Cameroon and Ivory Coast, working right in the bushes, buying coffee and cocoa, and working relatively independently. And this, I think, again gave me further clarity that yes, I would like to blaze my own trail sometime in the future. I came to Dubai in 2002, joined Sobha, and for the next 13, 14 years, I used to look after the Sobha interests in the UAE, and we used to do real estate development and construction. I was closely involved in the District 1 Mohammed bin Rashid City project, and we had completed acquisition of the land for Sobha Heartland. At that point of time, there was an opportunity in 2015 for me to look at going out on my own and trying the world of independently running my own business. And it has been an interesting journey. We have spent the last 10 years building a very reputed, respected international school business, both with substantial schools in Dubai and Singapore. But we've also spent this time building our capabilities as a real estate developer. And our real estate development business is also supported by our contracting businesses. So we are civil contractors, we have MEP contractors, we have nearly 1,000 people in our aluminum glazing business. We do very interesting, very complicated work in a heavy steel fabrication business out of Sharjah. So it is and being on your own is there is that sense of independence. There is a sense of, but it's also sometimes it's like an animal in the wild. You have to be alert at all times, and I think
the jungle.
And I think that that being a little bit of, having to be alert at all times, and is something that, I think also gives me that additional interest in pursuing the entrepreneurial road.
So, from your early days, being quite curious about your father's business and how he operated, what would you say some of the golden nuggets that he left for you in terms of how to operate as a leader? What would you say the key things that influenced you from your father?
Yeah. So I think so. One of the key things is man management or people management, and like we are all complicated human beings, and I think that how do you get people to align with your interests, working together within the organization, or working as partners or competitors. I think that's a very critical learning that I think I'm grateful to him for having yeah, having shared with me. The other thing is resilience, because most times things don't go well. The level of uncertainty in the world is so high, and so how do you continuously engage to solve problems, disentangle the various competing issues, resolving one after the other, and to do it over a sustained period of time when financially you might be challenged, and customers may have their own concerns, your supply chain might be disturbed. So I think resilience is a crucial part of what I've learned from him.
So give us something from like how you manage people, to align with what you need, what you want, and secondly, how you stay resilient in those scenarios.
I think the most important part while managing people is to put yourself in their shoes and try and see if common goals can be achieved. So once there is that understanding, then it is more of a operational, tactical engagement to highlight those commonalities and to give the confidence that we are working together to achieve a common mutual benefit. And this could be people within the organization, or they could be competitors. So I think this is how we look at it. But all of this works only if we are truly honest in our claimed objectives. So you can only fool a person once, and you lose a relationship forever. So we believe that we engage in everything we do with integrity, so that these relationships can not just be nurtured, but can bear fruit for the future.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really lovely.
That's honestly what we believe in, not just for people competing against us or stakeholders outside, but even for the people who are working with us.
And the Meraki Group has grown into quite a diversified group, as you've mentioned, of course, real estate, construction, and education. How do you define Meraki as a group, and what connects everything you do?
Though we have several businesses, it's one group, one standard, one culture, one shared value. This is something that you may visit or engage any of our businesses, and that underlying value system and culture comes through very clearly. The key thing for us is mentorship of people in the team, because that's the only way that this value system then gets communicated and disseminated throughout the organization. So my personal style is also to handhold and engage as much as possible in the initial years or months, and then afterwards to just give people the full responsibility and accountability at the same time, and then let them run their game.
And it's so true. Like, even as in my career history, I've always worked best when my boss or my leader trusted me to just get on with things. But anytime I was micromanaged, I don't perform. I struggle to perform because you feel like you're going to bleed outside the lines. So that's a really interesting, well, no, it's like a proven technique is to,
That's right.
you
That's right.
take the horse to water and then let it drink.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
As Meraki has grown, how would you say your own leadership has evolved over the years? Your own leadership style?
A lot of guiding and advising and monitoring and inspecting. And I think every organization in its infancy does go through those kinds of processes. Once somebody is identified and as has a proven track record over a reasonable period of time, then it is just to share experiences. So we run these businesses. I'm involved only where it is required, because I would not be able to be everywhere. We trust our leaders. We trust the people who are heading the business. We're grateful that we have several strong people aligned with us and working with us, and then we let them run.
Fabulous. Okay. And culture. Now, it's often talked about, company culture, but rarely defined. So what kind of culture have you intentionally built within Meraki, and why does culture matter so much to you?
We believe that the culture is important because that's what will make us differentiated from the rest of the businesses. But it is not just to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the business. It is a reflection of my personal value systems, my knowledge, my limited knowledge, which, my hunger to learn, to improve myself. So the culture system is my culture system, which I would like reflected in the actions and within the organization. For us, I believe that knowledge of an activity, or how something should be done, is a crucial part of what we do, especially when we talk about the various contracting businesses or even real estate that we do. So we are open to either we have people, either I know it, or we have people who know it, or we are happy to listen to people who know it, and and to upskill ourselves continuously. So knowledge and continuously improving it is a solid foundation of what we do. Mentorship is a second pillar, which I believe is what is helping us scale and institutionalize these best practices and culture. I think when somebody comes into an organization, we need to provide them with the right skill sets and knowledge that we know, because if we don't train people or don't expose them to the practices that we know, and we are happy to assimilate new practices also, then it would not be fair to then expect them to deliver at our high standards. So mentorship is an important part, and then finally allowing people to actually take responsibility and deliver on their functions.
So let's talk about some of these high standards that you have across the board, because ultimately my audience is predominantly the real estate industry, end users. So what high standards can they expect to receive from any touch point within your business and your projects?
So we break down the development process into, or the offering that we plan for our customers is the first thing is design. And the design has two elements. One is to meet the best aesthetics that you believe would be appreciated by the customer, but also functionality. And so we want to make sure that the spaces that we create are really usable for the customer. So like if you see our properties, we have 3.2, 3.3 meter heights, clear heights in our living rooms, in our dining spaces, our bedrooms. All of them have a full 3.2, 3.3 meter heights.
What would you say the average is?
2.9, 2.9.
That's a big difference.
3. We also we for our regular apartments, we the width of the rooms we keep them between 3.7 to 4 meters. Now you're always trying to strike a balance between not being too big an apartment, because the ticket size becomes bigger, and then people might not find it value enough to want to buy a property like that. But at the same, and the living and dining could be, say, 6 meters in length. So you have roughly 24 square meters that you're providing for living and dining. Now, if it is provided you could provide the same area as a 4.8 meter by 5 meter dimensions. And suddenly you see that, yes, you've got the area, but you just can't lay out your furniture in a way that makes best use of that space. When we say 3.7 to 4, because anything more than 4, and then you're bordering the
too big
without any benefit.
Yeah.
And the other thing with design these days, with graphics these days, is that you can put an elephant into the kitchen space and still make it seem as if there's lots of circulation space. So we test everything. We test furniture to proportion to make sure that it fits in properly. There's enough circulation space. You get out of your bed, you're not in the bathroom. There's space around the bed. You can open the bedroom shutters. So it's just small stuff, but just making sure that the design is right. The next aspect that we are very keen on perfecting as much as possible, and it's a never-ending struggle, is to get the construction quality right. We recently handed over a building with around 330 apartments, and around 73% of the customers who came for snags ended up with 0 snags. The contracting team had done a great job.
Wow.
So we keep pushing to make sure that we provide as much of as high a quality of delivery. So it's not specifications I'm talking about, just making sure that the joinery is fitted properly, the tiles are grouted properly, there are no scratches, cracks on the walls, and every small thing that generally you may come across in while doing snagging in an apartment. So construction quality is important. The third aspect is we really want people to look at the property as a haven for themselves.
Right.
So you enter the property, you have high quality finishes in the lobby, the corridor, the amenity spaces are very properly proportioned to make sure that everybody can use it. And we provide several amenities which are focused at use. Functionality is crucial. So there's lots of green spaces. Even if our building is in the middle of a dense community, I can assure you that the way the building is designed allows for a lot of green micro parks within the development, both outside the building, on the podium, within the building. So we really believe that creating those spaces. So we really want people to be happy.
Yeah.
Once they are within the boundaries of the project. And then finally, we are also very deeply involved with the operations of the building once they get handed over.
You don't pass off to an owners association or
no. So there is an owners
association.
association, but we work closely with them. The idea is that you don't want your lifts to be scratched.
Yeah.
You don't want your furniture, which we've used in several places. So because it is like a living space, as I said. Right. So you have co-working spaces, you have function spaces, you have the lobbies and stuff like that. So you don't want the furniture stained. You want the glasses, the windows always clean and without stains. You want the tables to be without stains. You want tissue boxes, X, Y, Z. So we go through a lot of detail to make sure that this is like an extension of your living room till you're outside the doors of the property. Yeah. So I think this we use high quality equipment in the gymnasiums. We provide several things. So it's like it's not just providing it, but it's making it,
living it,
making it like living spaces.
And it's so interesting you say that, because actually, while you were talking, it reminded me of 3 points from last week. So last week I was at the Real Estate Future Forum in Riyadh with Hillary Clinton, Richard Branson, Tucker Carlson. And one point, so I interviewed Tucker Carlson and I asked him what's his golden nugget when it comes to real estate agents. And he was like, it's obvious. Paint the picture. He was like, paint the picture. He's like, I can't stand it when people refer to real estate as an asset. He's like, it's not an asset. It's like, it's the only asset that you live in, that you sleep in. He's like, I don't sleep in my silver. I don't sleep in my crypto. So you've got to sell the space. And I think a lot of what real estate agents might default to doing is talking about the price or talking about the location. And if you could wave a magic wand or if you could oversee, let's say, for example, you've got your renders or you're overseeing a real estate agent pitching one of your projects, what would you be standing there waiting, hoping that they mention?
The first thing I would do is I would tell him, please go and see completed projects, because I think if you, and I'm going to trouble you, Silvia, to do the same.
I'm ready whenever.
But I think you come and see what we do.
The proof is in the pudding.
The proof is in the pudding. We start out always, when I start off, the question is, would I be happy to live in that project? And that is a standard that I work towards. That when we originally committed to the designs of the project and shared the renders with the customers, like we told them that we won't do, like the walls of the corridors would be all painted with some kind of artistic paint and stuff like that. But then as we went through the project, we realized that paint would get scratched, people would damage it, or it could get damaged in some way. Yes, or moving luggage and all that. All unintentional, but yes, it's going to impact the overall experience for the next person. And so we said, okay, let's now do all our corridors with tiles. So it did cost us substantially more than just painting it.
but it will
but
last
but
substantially longer.
it
Yeah.
lasts substantially longer. So we are happy to take the pain in the short term, because this is what really Meraki is about. We are a long-term player, and everything is like, we know that if we continue to deliver, whether it's in education or as contractors or as developers, we continue to just focus on excellence, but keep an eye for the long term. The reward will come.
Yeah. And the other point I wanted to make from, because there were three things that you made me think of. The second thing was Deloitte. Actually, I interviewed the global partner for transport infrastructure, and I asked him the question. I said, what will later generations thank you for when it comes to developing new cities and so on? And it's the point that you touched on about green, is having an element of green. Like people, many developers might just think, oh, landscaping is not that important, but it's actually becoming such an important part of making home feel like Zen, making you feel comfortable. That green space, green, we've got it even on set here, albeit artificial, but the importance of greenery.
All our projects have a large component of green. I think the designers have done a great job by creating, small green parks, I would say, because they're pretty large areas actually, where people can come and circulate in and sit in the evenings. The podium spaces, the rooftops are efficiently used for green. And also in one of our upcoming projects, Nirvana, we've created several green spaces within the buildings, within the building itself. So you have something on the 4th floor, you have something on the 7th floor, you have something on the 9th floor. So these are small, 1,500, 2,000 square feet spaces. You can go out and sit and breathe some fresh air, and there's greenery around. So greenery is is a very important part of, I think, our personal well-being. And so we and that's what we're trying to reflect in our projects also. We get selection of the plants also is important, because we've made mistakes and we've done a lot of replanting, but I get irritated if the edges of the plants become brown. In summer, it is summer, and it is painful. It's a painful summer, but we still. So we've changed and arrived at 7 or 8 varieties of plants that
don't
work,
go,
that don't go, brown at the edges. So it may seem a little boring, if you were looking at 20 of our projects, but if you look at one project and you're a buyer in one project, you're going to be very happy that everything is green all the time.
And the third point that you made me think of was actually staying at the Four Seasons. I went to the gym on one of the days, and I was like, I was looking at all the equipment, and it was like latest edition techno gym, and I could connect my Apple Watch to it, and I was begrudging the gym that I had at home. And I'm living in City Walk, and it's not, it's not the top of the range gym, but I was thinking, why haven't my gym appliances been upgraded? And all I'm doing is walking. But it would be great to, despite the name being City Walk, I don't actually walk around. I end up walking in the gym. So how are your projects solving for that?
So for us, it is important that the customer is really happy with the amenities we provide, and they are going to be used. So we do use, by the way, we do use Technogym. We provide Technogym in our projects.
The one with the Bluetooth connection?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't used it,
Okay.
but I know that we use Technogym
Equipment,
there,
yeah. As long as you've got the latest range, it'll be fine, yeah.
It's all Technogym, and I think our customers are happy that we are making sure that they have the latest of equipment. These are small things in the bigger scheme of things for the project's point of view. But if you do a number of small
Really
additions to the experience of the customer, I think that's where we will create a difference.
Yeah. All these small things add up. Okay, so building on that, your latest project has more of that well-being led approach. Tell us about what inspired Nirvana and how does it represent the evolution of Meraki's thinking development?
I think Nirvana residences is actually something that we're building on what we achieved with our previous projects, and then adding a little bit more to it. The feature here is that wellness is a core facet of the offering there. Again, greenery is something that is greenery, and biophilic design is something that distinguishes this project from some of the others.
What's it called?
Biophilic.
Educate us.
As such, bio is bio, and philia is affinity to
nature.
To nature.
Okay.
So incorporating
biology and nature.
Incorporating nature into architectural design. There have been several studies which have proved that it changes the stress levels for people living. I think just keeping a potted plant in the house
makes a difference,
and not having a potted plant in the house makes a difference. Both, not just aesthetically, but it somehow makes you calmer and I think more happier in many ways. So we have created pockets and niches all over the building where this green is embraced fully as part of the project. We have, in addition to pocket parks on the ground floor, on the podium, on the roof, we've also created what we call Nirvana groves. So these are 1,500, 2,000 square feet spaces on multiple floors. Maybe we have something on the 4th, 7th, 10th, and
like
so
a breakout area.
Like a breakout area, but with a lot of green. And so the idea is that you create as many subspaces for people to go and and spend time with nature as much as the opportunities and can be provided living in the center of a city.
And is this well-being kick, is this well-being drive more as a result of, are we just generally more stressed right now? Or is it because more people are working from home? Like, where has this come from?
I think we are all stressed all the time. And so, I think the government recognizes the need of, so I think if you look at Vision 2040, where there's so much of investments by the government in creating green spaces and creating exercise and physical well-being spaces. I think we're in many ways we are trying to replicate it within the building.
Right.
So for us, you come into the building, and we believe that you're leaving behind the stress of your day-to-day life, at the door. That's how we have designed it. That's how our projects are intended to work.
So I want to know from you about the man behind the vision. What's one book, one podcast, and one person that makes you who you are today?
I think it's a combination of several things,
Mm-hmm.
several people that we have met, several people who've taught us. We meet sometimes passingly, sometimes with serious contact. But one interesting person that that comes to mind is I regularly follow Charlie Munger's. He used
Who's
to
he?
be a right hand man for Warren Buffett.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting person. Brutal honesty was what he was known for, but at the same time, a very dry sense of humor, and everything he said was common sense.
Mm.
And I think we complicate our lives. He believed in the long term, and I think I closely
Mirror
mirror his thoughts
Yeah.
on that. And he just says, do things simply, keep it simple, don't, there's no big hurry.
Is he the
Just-
one
just
that
keep-
said, coined the phrase "keep it simple, stupid"? Is that him?
I don't know, but
Okay.
but I think he would have liked to
Mhm.
be given credit for it. Yeah.
That's
So
good. So how can we find him? Is it a book? Did he write a book, or is he on YouTube?
no, so there are lots of books on him.
Mm.
There are lots of Instagram snippets that you come across. YouTube, he's everywhere,
Uh-huh.
but very interesting,
Mhm.
very interesting. And I think lessons for life.
Mhm.
Simple lessons. Everything is. We don't have to complicate our lives too
Mhm.
much.
Simplify things.
Simplify things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you into podcasts much? I know this is your first podcast, so welcome.
No,
do you listen to them at all?
I have to be honest, not too much.
Mhm.
There is I forget the name, but there is this thing out of I don't remember the name, but this is very very successful podcast on industries.
Is it
done
Diary
out
of a
of
CEO?
done out of California, and they do 3-hour, 4-hour podcasts,
Mhm.
and I've listened in to a couple of them, but otherwise not very regularly.
Okay.
I must apologize.
And what about books?
I used to read a lot of fiction, but I've not had the time to do that. It's generally current affairs and it's history.
And finally, as Dubai's real estate market continues to mature, what do you believe is going to define the next phase of the industry, and what responsibility do developers have in shaping it?
The market is maturing. I think people understand better what they're looking for. They appreciate specifications, dimensions, design. So I think people like developers will have to take a view that whatever is being offered is really long-term value for the buyer. I think that's the direction that the market is going for. So there is a maturing from that point of view.
And what responsibility do developers have in that?
I think we need to pay attention to what the customer wants and design products and deliver products that meet the long-term uses of the customer. I think that's where we need to focus on.
Ajay, thank you so much. This has been such a grounding conversation. There's something a bit ASMR about your voice, very peaceful. Learned a lot about patience, about responsibility, and building for the long term. So thank you very much for coming on Golden Nuggets and dropping your golden nuggets of wisdom. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much.